someone who knew the sisters well, and they have revealed some details around what they were like and what they are like as people. They're close-knit, they're happy, easygoing, they're trusting, and they didn't take drink or drugs. So the question is, as this police investigation continues here in the centre of Aberdeen, what were they doing out at 2:30 in the morning, and what were the circumstances that led up to this disappearance?
Joining us live from Aberdeen, Connor, appreciate the update. Thank you so much. We will, of course, bring our viewers here on Sky News more details on that situation as we get it. But now, coming up next, it's Business Live with Darren McCaffrey.
The top business stories, live from the Sky Newsroom. The Chancellor to face questions in the Commons this afternoon about a handling of the economy as government borrowing costs show signs of stabilising. Spain mulls plans to impose a 100% tax on properties bought by non-residents, including those from here in the UK. Plus, we'll hear from Amazon about a big expansion of its zero-emission deliveries in the UK. Very good morning on this Tuesday. Business Live with me, Darren McCaffrey. It's certainly been a difficult few days for Rachel Reeves. Soaring government borrowing costs has seen the pound fall and raise questions about her very future as Chancellor. Well, this afternoon she'll face questions from MPs about her handling of the economy when she makes a statement in the Commons about her trip to China at the weekend. But there is some respite this morning with signs that gilts and the pound are stabilising. Let's speak to Sir Craig Oliver, former Director of Politics and Communications, of course, at Number 10, now co-global Head of Strategy and Reputation at the strategic communications firm FGS Global. So Craig, very good morning to you. You guys have got a big report out today looking ahead to what to expect this year. We'll come on to that in a second, but it'd be remiss of me not to talk about the Chancellor, who is under somewhat pressure. What do you make, I think, first of all, about the situation the government have found themselves in, this idea that they in part are to blame for it?
Look, well, it's a major question, I think, for people is, look, can any government of an economy size of the UK deal with all the international pressures that are happening at the moment, what's going on in the bond markets, that kind of thing? So to some extent, it's something that's out with her control. I think a lot of people, and actually in the report we're about to talk about in a moment, is that people say, look, has the Labour government been the author of its own fate? Has it felt the need to box itself into corners on certain things? And when there is a change in what's going on in the global economy, find that, that it's in a really difficult situation. And I think there's a bit of both there. There's a bit of a sense of like international markets moving against her, not much she can do. But has she actually boxed herself into a corner and not been quite as politically astute as she might have been?
And just on the politics itself, Labour have got a stonking majority. They've only been in power for 6 months. Is it quite extraordinary that already the papers, journalists, others suggesting that she may have to go? I mean, it seems quite extraordinary to me, who's covered politics, that we're already seemingly at that stage. But are we really at that stage?
Look, I think that there is a danger of over-egging this. Is there pressure on Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer at the moment? Absolutely, 100%. Do they need to demonstrate to people that they have a clear story on growth and that they know exactly what they're doing? Yes, they do. Are we a long way away from the Chancellor being fired? Yes, we are. I mean, I think one of the things that came through in the report that we're discussing is even the people who are sort of traditionally centre-left or left-leaning felt that the government really is struggling to tell its story, and also that they need to get past this thing of what they say being different to what they actually end up doing. And that's a real problem for them. And I think that allows the media to step in. As you said, I was a director of communications for David Cameron. One of the things I think that's, that modern politicians tend to say is, look, I don't want to do all this kind of spin. I don't want to do all this communications all the time. The reality of the modern world is, unless you're out there telling your story every single day, what is the government doing today, consistent in your story, then you end up in a situation where there is a vacuum and other people fill that for you. And usually that is in a very negative way.
And isn't that, I suppose, in many ways, the kind of problem here, looking slightly on a more macro level, is that, the government have come in, and there are some fundamental problems with Britain at the moment that actually, aren't going to take 6 months or a year or maybe even this Parliament to sort out.
I think that's 100% true. If you look at the projected government spending, it's going up and up and up. The tax take's probably going to be flat or thereabout. And that gap in between what projected government spending is and tax take is going to be what Mario Draghi, who is a central banker in Europe, said is a kind of slow agony for economies like the UK. We're in a situation where we've got an ageing population, we've got a problem with productivity. And unless the government can tell the real story of how are we going to change that and make a difference, and also I think set expectations on that. The danger is you make people think that this is a short-term solution. They have tried to do things about saying that it's going to be a longer-term thing. The AI strategy yesterday, what they're saying they're going to do on the NHS. But we live in a world where people expect results pretty quickly from a government, and they also expect clarity of direction and story.
And looking at your report, you have interviewed a lot of people who are quite senior in business and indeed the general public in this report, but you're also suggesting that there should be optimism amongst what has been a difficult start to 2025.
Well, when you go through the report, the sort of first 4/5 of it are a lot of people saying, look, we are in very, very tricky times. And is the world order that we got used to, where the US was very, very kind to the rest of the world, NATO was prevalent, the UN was prevalent, all of that kind of thing, has that been shattered? And what is it going to be replaced with? A lot of uncertainty there. But when you get to the end and you talk to people, a lot of people say, look, the reality is technology is coming to the rescue, or hopefully coming to the rescue. We do also have certainty. knowing that Trump is in charge, knowing that we have a Labour government in charge for the next few years, and in a few months' time we'll know who's going to be in charge in Germany. That certainty is a good thing. And a lot of people are also very, very optimistic about health. There's a whole load of drugs and injectables coming along that mean we're going to be able to live longer and hopefully live, meaningful, productive lives as a result of that. So there is a lot to be optimistic about. A lot of people still do think if you're going to choose any time in human history to be born, it would be now. And so maybe let's course correct against all the kind of doom and gloom and negativity that's out there.
You brought up his name, Donald Trump, of course. He's going to get inaugurated next week for his second term. How does Britain, from your view, and again, someone who's been inside the room, if you like, how does Britain take advantage, or can it take advantage, of our relationship with Donald Trump?
Well, it's really interesting. The people we spoke to, the people who came from the sort of centre-left view of things, tended to be actually quite bleak about it and feel that actually, look, this is all really negative. People from the centre-right were willing to say, look, the reality of Trump is the world had been at a situation where it's been stuck on a number of issues, and maybe somebody coming along and disrupting it and shaking it up will actually unstick quite a lot of things. And when there is uncertainty and when there is disruption, there is often opportunity. So I think if the UK is prepared to look at it in that way, that's important. I also think that it is absolutely vital that the British government finds a way to be able to talk to President Trump, to keep a relationship going with him, but also Elon Musk. He is arguably the most powerful person in the world. He's got it in for the UK at the moment. We have to find a way to make a relationship with him because we don't want the next 4 years just being all about Musk slagging off the UK and the UK government.
OK. Sir Craig Oliver, as always, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Thank you. Now, Amazon have announced big plans for a big expansion of its zero-emission deliveries here in the UK. Includes what it says is the country's largest ever order of electric heavy vehicles and the integration of electric rail for transporting packages, and even the launch of on-foot customer deliveries like we see the Postie do in central London. Amazon aims to achieve net zero carbon emissions, it says, across its entire operations by the end of 2040. Let's speak to Nicola Fife. She is the European head of Amazon Logistics. Very good morning to you, Nicola. Just talk us through the scale of what you're trying to achieve here.
Hi there, good morning. Yes, today we're making a major announcement on our journey to net zero carbon by 2040. Now, there's kind of three major parts to the information that we're sharing today. The first one is that we've made a record-breaking order of electric trucks or electric HGVs that will hit the roads in the UK later this year. This is the largest ever order of electric trucks that have been purchased in the UK, and it's the largest ever order that Amazon has placed globally for electric HGVs. So we're very excited about that. The second part is about how we're using the rail network to be able to move products around the UK. So we are leaning into using the West Coast Main Line, which is fully electric. And with that launch, we'll be moving about 20 million products per year around the UK.
And the third one, I think you're going to come on to, is this idea of doing things on foot, a bit like you see the postman do in towns and cities up and down the country. I think the question from me is, why is this kind of not already happens?
So one of the things that we've been looking at is how we use lots of different sustainable deliveries and different delivery models together to be able to give a sustainable solution. So if we look at just London alone, like using the walker or on-foot deliveries along with the electric bikes that we've launched and along with the electric vans that we have, allows us to kind of work and adapt those models to deliver best in different areas and neighbourhoods.
And is this to ensure that, you know, it's a greener form of doing things, but is it also to make the service more reliable? Is there a possibility it might make it a bit less reliable in order to meet that target?
No, it will be as reliable as it always has been, and we're very proud of our delivery service to our customers.
Okay.
the key thing for us is just about how we, with the on-foot deliveries, now we're doing replenishment on the go, and that's the thing that's slightly different. But if we look at even like London alone and in the central London congestion zone, by using these on-foot deliveries along with the e-bikes and the e-vans, we're able to give 70% coverage for that area.
And just very finally, Nicola, the government is helping you out a little bit here with some funding, I think, for these electric vehicles. People sat at home going, Amazon make a hell of a lot of money. Like, why should my taxpayers' money be going to help a company as large as Amazon?
Yeah, we have joined up with a government consortium, and we're very kind of proud and happy to be part of that. For this record-breaking order that we placed, the majority of the vehicles we have funded, there is a small part that the government has helped has part funded, but we are one of many partners that are part of that consortium. So we made a commitment to spend £300 million by 2027 just in the UK, electrifying our transport network. This is like one step forward and following up on that investment that we made.
Good stuff. Nicola, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Nicola Fife there from Amazon. Thank you. Now let's bring you up to date with some of the rest of the news. And Spain is planning to impose a tax of up to 100% on properties brought by non-residents from the European Union. And that includes, of course, us here in the UK. Speaking at an economic forum in Madrid, the Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, said the tax would be unprecedented in Spanish history, but he stopped short of explaining how the plan would work or when it would be sent to Parliament for approval. And don't forget, you can get more on that, indeed the rest of the business news, on the Money blog, on the Sky News app, or indeed on the website. Now, we were reporting yesterday, of course, weren't we, on the Prime Minister's plans to turn the UK into an AI powerhouse. Well, new research from HSBC Innovation Banking suggests an investment in the UK's artificial intelligence startups is on the rise, with $4.2 billion raised in venture capital last year, and UK tech worth now over $1.2 trillion. Simon Bunfrey is Interim Chief Executive at HSBC Innovation Banking UK. Simon, this sounds like it's actually some good news.
Yes, I'd agree. It's very positive news for the UK, and you look at the rise of the valuations of these businesses, but also, more importantly, the investment, as you quite rightly pointed out, that's going into AI, which is now in excess of 25% of the money that companies are raising annually. So that's really positive. And looking forward, and with the announcement yesterday, I would expect that percentage to increase as we go forward.
And has money, or the access to money, been a problem for AI startups here in the UK? Or given the fact, let's be frank about this, we're not at the forefront thus far of artificial intelligence, that is a more fundamental problem?
No, I don't believe so. I think it's like any, I say, new sector. I mean, AI itself has been around for many years, but the generative AI and the investment that we're seeing, the new investment that we're seeing going into now, it's been, firms have to diligence what they're going to invest in. What we don't want to do, and for the better of the UK economy, is to invest in ideas, creations that are not ready for market. So they need to diligence the sector and invest in the right types of AI that's going to benefit the UK and consumers and people longer term. And I think we've been on that journey, and we're now at that cusp where we're going to see increased funding, as evidenced by the figures that came out this morning.
And I assume then you welcome the Prime Minister's announcements yesterday. Again, frankly, do you think your sector, the AI sector as a whole, needs more government backing?
Yes, I think the announcement yesterday, it's great for the country. It's going to, ideally going forward, create enhanced value, GDP, but more importantly, it's going to create jobs as well.
Is it, though? That's the interesting point, isn't it, Simon? Because there are many people out there, many experts, by the way, who say that AI is a massive risk to lots of jobs and lots of sectors, particularly at the pace at which it could move.
Yeah, I think it's a fair argument if you look at certain types of job. If you look at the more administrative type roles in certain industries, for example, they may be at risk. But as we've found out with many of, as society develops and grows, new jobs are created. So if you look at the announcement yesterday in these technology parks or AI parks, there's going to be a whole raft of new jobs created around the country. And I think more importantly, it's going to create different career paths, but also for those maybe younger generation as well that are really into innovation and technology and the opportunity to start off in these businesses and grow with them. And I think if you look at the number of AI businesses and just innovation businesses generally that have got to unicorn status or an exit, and then the individuals that have exited with those businesses, they're then reinvested not just the financial capital, but the human capital back into businesses as well. So overall, I think it's a very positive announcement.
OK, Simon, really appreciate your time this morning. Simon Bonfrey there from HSBC. Thank you.
Thank you.
OK, you're watching Business Live here on Sky News. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, we'll be looking at the markets. As you can see, the FTSE stable this morning, effectively hasn't moved. We'll be explaining that and the rest of the market news after this quick break. Stay tuned.
Big stories don't always come from big cities. I'm Lisa Dowd and I'm Sky's Midlands correspondent.
You are not getting in this elevator, okay?
The judge made it very clear that she could see no justifiable reason why Sakulas wasn't here facing British justice.
I promised I would get him justice.
Free, wherever you get your news. This is what they're up against. The wind is the really big problems. It is back-breaking work and the smoke is thick. It's been working well. Water levels are dropping, but no one knows what impact further rain will have. What would you do if this place wasn't open? This is the exact spot in Nottingham where their 19-year-old son, Barnaby Webber, lost his life.
I just think it's so cruel and so harsh.
It's really scary. We're terrified.
In this community, I'm told that everybody knows someone affected by COVID.
Hopefully this will be the last wave.
Sky News gets the full story first. Change seems tantalisingly close in this corner of the UK. Wales was the first to introduce the plastic bag charge. It's legal to let go. Set the speed and take the hands off. It's almost driverless, but not quite. Hans is a highly trained police dog. The force is incredible. It's really frightening, actually. This is my patch, my specialism. It's also my home.
I'm James Matthews and I'm Sky's US correspondent, based here in Washington, DC. Donald Trump, it would appear, is about to learn his fate. There's no doubting the strength of this hurricane as it roars through. Sky News, get the full story first. Do you fear a fourth indictment?
He's from Sky News. He's from Sky News. He's entitled to ask me questions.
You want to talk business? Meet me in the Onboard Lounge. Fly Emirates, fly better.
Well, welcome back. It's been a difficult couple of days, hasn't it, for UK borrowing and indeed sterling. So let's have a look at the markets in a bit more detail now. Speak to Zoe Gillespie, Senior Investment Manager at RBC Brewin Dolphin. Very good morning to you, Zoe. As I say, it's not been great, but a little bit more stable today.
Yes, good morning. We have sort of seen stability return to markets, although it maybe feels a wee bit like the calm before the storm, because we're going to get in the next couple of days some inflation data out the UK and the US. And I think certainly if we see markets maybe react to hotter than expected or hotter than anticipated data coming through, and I think certainly that it's going to give us a bit more direction. Today we're going to get the producer price index data out from America, and then CPI data tomorrow from the UK and US. So I think we may see a bit more reaction to that, and whether if it's hotter than expected, we could see a bit more kind of instability coming back.
And Zoe, you know, you talk to people in the market all the time. What is your sense here? You know, this is clearly part of a global phenomenon. No one's doubting that. But is it more acute? Are there more concerns about the UK?
I think certainly we've seen from an investor's perspective, you know, we're seeing more from the UK in terms of the bond market, and but the stock market has actually held up relatively well through this. So from an investor's perspective, it depends where you're positioned. But I think going into 2025, there was a lot more optimism from the US, and we have seen certainly the kind of post-Trump election euphoria starting to tail off a wee bit. We've lost the gains there, so we are seeing a bit of volatility, but markets are volatile, and unfortunately this is part and parcel of investing, and I think it's just really just being alive to that, and I think keeping expectations that this type of thing is normal.
OK, Zoe, let's look at some businesses as we're on Business Live. Let's talk about JD Sports.
Yeah, JD Sports, I think certainly they issued numbers today, and I think they've highlighted that their profit guidance is going to be the lower end of expectations, so a tough kind of trading time for them. Certainly they've seen sales fall 1.5%, revenue is up a bit. And I think interestingly what they've said is that they've not tried to heavily discount or go into that kind of area where they're competing with other retailers. But I think certainly that they've got a huge reliance on Nike, and we've seen other brands becoming, I think, certainly more popular among shoppers. So it's been a tougher time for them, and we've seen some weakness in the share price today.
And so that has been good for supermarkets, effectively, hasn't it? Food did very well over Christmas, and that was true for Ocado.
It was, and I think certainly we were really, I think when Marks & Spencer's issued their numbers last week, we got a bit of a sense that Ocado would issue some good figures today, and we have seen that revenue's up over 17%, and I think certainly when we look at their volumes have been strong too, and I think certainly from Ocado's perspective, they've seen this has been quite a difficult joint venture with Marks & Spencer's, so it's starting to sort of look better for them, the retail side. And yeah, we have seen a strong Christmas, and again from food here too.
Great. Zoe, thank you very much indeed. As you say, a record-breaking Christmas there for Ocado. That's Zoe Gillespie there from RBC Brew and Dolphin. Thank you for your time from Glasgow, where it's clearly a little bit sunny, which can't be true of everywhere in the UK. That is it from me on Business Live. Of course, we're back at 4:30 this afternoon. Do join me then if you can. Up next, though, it's Gareth with the very latest news. And do stay tuned because the Chancellor is due to address MPs in the Commons at 12:30. Stay tuned for that on Sky News, and I'll see you a bit later.